What is up, everybody? It's JT Sportsman Match, you guys, with another video. This video, I'm here with my top 10 2020 NFL Draft quarterback prospects going into the 2020 NFL Draft. And if you're new to the channel, make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, because I upload NFL videos and college football videos, plus XFL videos daily. So, ranking the top 10 quarterback prospects going into 2020 NFL draft class. Now, a lot of people do these rankings after the NFL Combine, but the way I do my rankings is that I don't really care what players do at the NFL Combine, because football is not played in tights and shorts, it's played in pads. So these rankings are based on the performance that these quarterbacks had in my eyes on the field, strictly based on the field performance. Plus, a couple of these guys also participated in the Senior Bowl as well, so I'm going to take that into account as well. So let's get into it. So at number 1, I have Joe Burrow, 6'4", 216 pounds, the Heisman Trophy winner, national champion out of LSU. I mean, this guy had an incredible season. I mean, 60 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, completed 73% of his passes. I mean, he's probably the most accurate passer in this draft class. He doesn't have the strongest of arms, but I think his arm strength is good enough to help him have a pretty good NFL career. And I have him at number 1. At number 2, I have Tua Tagovailoa. Now, Tua Tagovailoa is 6'1", 218 pounds. This past season for Alabama, he threw for 2,840 passing yards, had 33 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, and completed 71% of his passes. Now, a lot of people will argue and say that Tua Tagovailoa is better than Joe Burrow. And if you were to go down in the comment section and say that, I would not disagree with you. It's just, in my opinion, I think Joe Burrow is a little bit more better, in my opinion. But Tua Tagovailoa is really, really good, and he probably could be number 1, but the durability issues and all the injuries that he sustained during his time as a starting quarterback for Alabama. But I mean, Tua Tagovailoa, man, I mean, he's dead accurate as well, has an absolutely phenomenal deep ball. I mean, he's probably the best deep ball thrower in this draft class. I mean, he has a pretty deep ball. He also has a little bit of mobility as well. And although he isn't that tall or that big in stature, he kind of has a Russell Wilson type of body. He's kind of big, chunky down low. And I think Tua Tagovailoa, I think he's going to end up having a very good NFL career. A lot of people are probably going to disagree and say that he deserves to be the number 1 quarterback over Joe Burrow. And I'm not going to disagree with anybody that says that. I can understand the arguments and debates that Tua Tagovailoa is the most talented quarterback in the draft class. But in my opinion, he is number 2 in my opinion. So at number 3, I have Justin Herbert, the 6'6" quarterback, 227 pounds, out of the University of Oregon. Justin Herbert decided to return for 1 more year, and I wouldn't say that it backfired or paid off, because basically last season a lot of people projected him to be the number 1 overall pick. But I mean, he's still top 5 pick, top 10 pick, had a great season, 3,471 passing yards to 32 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, completed 66% of his passes. And Justin Herbert, I mean, he went back to Oregon. He got another year of experience, and now he just honed his skills, basically. I think Justin Herbert is a lot better of a quarterback than what he was compared to what he was last season coming out. I mean, last season he probably wouldn't have been ready to be a day 1 starter, but now I'm very confident that Justin Herbert could be a day 1 starter. Doesn't matter which team he gets drafted to. Doesn't matter if he somehow got drafted number 1 over Joe Burrow to the Bengals. Doesn't matter if he gets drafted to the Dolphins. Doesn't matter where Justin Herbert goes, I still think he's good enough to be a day 1 talent. He's accurate to football. He's also mobile as well. A lot of people, for some reason, keep on thinking that Justin Herbert is a bust, and for some reason, he keeps on surprising everybody. I mean, he had the best Senior Bowl out of anybody, any quarterback in attendance, had a great Senior Bowl practice, had a great Senior Bowl game, and that's why I think he deserves to be the number 3 quarterback on this on my prospect rankings, because it's only 3 quarterbacks in this draft class that I think are able to start day 1. That's Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, and Joe Burrow. So now number 4, I have Jordan Love. Now, the rest of these quarterbacks are quarterbacks that are basically developmental projects. They're basically have a lot of talent, but they're not going to be able to start right away. So at number 4, you got Jordan Love. Jordan Love is 6'4", 225 pounds. I mean, Jordan Love has a lot of upside, a lot of potential. A lot of people probably say he has the most upside and potential than any quarterback in this draft class due to his mobility, what he's able to do inside the pocket, his arm strength. And this past season for Utah State wasn't really the season that he expected. 3,402 passing yards to 20 touchdowns to 17 interceptions, 61% of his passes he completed. And a big reason why I think his stats kind of fell down, particularly his touchdown to interception ratio probably is going to throw a lot of people off. But I think the reason for that is because Utah State didn't really have a lot of talent. They did lose a good amount of talent the season prior going into this one, which is why I think Jordan Love kind of had a drop-off in production. But at the Senior Bowl, he had a pretty good Senior Bowl. He showed that he was able to do some things, be able to have success when he actually has some legitimate talent around him. I think he proved that in the Senior Bowl. And I wouldn't be surprised if I saw Jordan Love somehow get drafted inside the top 10 or top 15 as well. At number 5, we have Jacob Eason, the quarterback from the University of Washington. He transferred for the University of Georgia after his freshman season. Ended up getting his job taken his second year by Jake Fromm. So Jacob Eason ended up transferring to the University of Washington. A lot of people wanted him to stay one more year, but I think he had a pretty good year. I think Jacob Eason, when you look at his physical intangibles, he's 6'6", 227 pounds. Probably has the best arm of this draft class. I think he's going to end up getting drafted in the first round. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up getting drafted in the top 15. Don't be surprised if any of these top 5 quarterbacks end up all getting drafted inside the top 15, because Jacob Eason, he has the best arm in his draft class. And, I mean, he has a lot of potential as well. Somehow, quarterbacks that have great arm strength and always end up having the off-the-charts potential for some reason. But Jacob Eason, he reminds me a lot of Matthew Stafford. He is an identical Matthew Stafford clone, has a lot of similar physical traits, physical attributes than similar to what Matthew Stafford had when he was coming out of the University of Georgia. Great arm. Not really that athletic when it comes to running with the football. And Jacob Eason, for the most part, I think if he goes to a team, a good organization, similar to like the New England Patriots or somebody like that, he's able to sit for a couple of years and develop. I think he has potential to be able to have a really, really good career. And I think that's something that benefits Jordan Love and Jacob Eason. They're not going to end up going to dysfunctional organizations like Herbert, Burrow, and Tua Tagovailoa are. They're most likely going to end up getting drafted by good organizations like the Colts, the Patriots, and things like that, where they're going to be put in the best opportunity to succeed. They're going to have the best chance to succeed. They're going to have a great coaching staff. They're going to have a great organization to work with. And they're also going to have talent as well compared to some of the other guys who are going to get drafted ahead of them, who are going to go to dysfunctional organizations and not really have the best of circumstances to succeed under. So I think that's something that benefits Jordan Love and Jacob Eason. So at number 6, I have Jake Fromm. Now, Jake Fromm, 6'2", 220 pounds. Jake Fromm, in my opinion, is identical version of Dak Prescott. He reminds me a lot of Dak Prescott. Now, I think Jake Fromm can come into the NFL. He could possibly start right away, depending on how he does in the preseason. The thing with Jake Fromm is that he doesn't have a lot of mobility, and also a lot of people believe that he's only as good as the team that he has around him, which is why I think he has a similar skill set to that of a Dak Prescott. If you give Jake Fromm talent to work with, he's going to end up being really, really good. But when you got to ask Jake Fromm to play on a not-so-good team with not a lot of talent and ask him to be your franchise quarterback with not a lot of talent, he's not a guy who can do that. He's not a guy who can carry you to wins. And that's why I compare Jake Fromm to Dak Prescott. They don't have crazy accuracy. They don't have crazy arm strength neither. But they're guys who are good game manager. If you give them time to work with, they can manage the game for you and win games. If you got a consistent run game and a good group of talent to work with a good offensive line, that's something that Jake Fromm has had. So I have Jake Fromm as my number 6 rated quarterback prospect. At number 7, I have Jalen Hurts. Now, Jalen Hurts, 6'1", 218 pounds. He's going to get drafted. I think Jalen Hurts probably gets drafted in the mid-rounds, probably round 3, round 5 is where I expect Jalen Hurts to go off the board. Now, Jalen Hurts didn't really have an impressive Senior Bowl. He didn't have a bad Senior Bowl neither, but it's just really, he showed up to the Senior Bowl weekend and basically nothing really changed. He just showed up basically because, listen, His offensive line didn't do him no favors at the Senior Bowl, but also we saw some of the flaws that we had about Jalen Hurts in the regular season. He kind of struggled to read the field as well, kind of struggled trying to throw the ball in the tight windows and tight spaces. But overall, I think Jalen Hurts, he could end up going to a team, kind of end up getting put in that to Mason Hill role when he'll be asked to do a lot of things and things like that. And then eventually he could end up becoming the starter. At number 8, I have FIU quarterback James Morgan. Now, James Morgan did not play in the Senior Bowl. He played in the East-West Shrine Bowl. And James Morgan absolutely blows people away. He had a great week of practice in the East-West Shrine Bowl, and he capped it off by having a great performance in the East-West Shrine Bowl game. This past season for FIU, 2,560 passing yards, 14 touchdowns and 5 receptions, completed 58% of his passes. Those stats aren't going to blow anybody away, but he has a great size. He has a great arm. He also has a little bit of mobility as well. James Morgan is a guy who can end up being a developmental project. Potentially, you can groom him into a backup, and then he could potentially become a starter. But I think James Morgan at number 8 is a pretty good spot for James Morgan, considering where he was before the offseason even began, or before the whole draft process started. And a lot of people probably didn't even know who James Morgan was. I definitely didn't. So James Morgan definitely is on my radar, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him move up and somehow creep his way into the second round when the NFL draft comes around, because he has great arm, great intangibles, and he could be groomed into a potential backup quarterback and potentially a starting quarterback in the NFL. At number 9, I have Steven Montez. Now, Steven Montez is 6'4", 240 pounds. Now, the only reason Steven Montez really is on this list is because of potential, his physical attributes, his size. Other than that, he has a lot of work to do. He's really raw, has to work in his footwork, his accuracy is really spotty. And, I mean, Steven Montez, he didn't really have a lot of talent to work with in Colorado. But, I mean, I think he could have did a lot better than what he did this past season playing for Colorado. And the last quarterback I have on this list at number 10, I have SHEA Patterson. Now, SHEA Patterson, 6'1", 204 pounds. This season for Michigan was pretty much the best season he had during his career stats-wise. Somehow he was a little bit more efficient. 3,061 pass yards, 23 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, completed 61% of his passes. SHEA Patterson is on this list because he's not a great passer, but he's not a bad passer. He's what we'll call a rhythmatic passer. When you get in rhythm, he can be really, really good. But when he's off rhythm, he's not able to get into a flow of the game and things like that. He ends up being really, really off. And we see that in a lot of games. We saw that in the Alabama game. He overthrew a lot of receivers down the field. So, I mean, SHEA Patterson, I think he's good enough that he should be able to get draftable. But I think at best, he'll probably end up being a backup quarterback at the NFL level. He also has a little bit of mobility as well. But I think SHEA Patterson's skill set is good enough that he should be able to be draftable. And I don't think he had a bad Senior Bowl week. I also thought his Senior Bowl weekend was pretty okay for the most part. It wasn't great, but it was okay. And I think it slightly improved his draft stock just a little bit. So this is my top 10 quarterback prospects going into the 2020 NFL draft class. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section down below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content. And thanks for watching.